Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. Today I wanted to bring you guys along into the front yard area to show you some of the things we've been working on over the last several months in terms of design for this homestead. As soon as we found out that the septic was going to go where it was going to go, before the ground froze solid, we actually dug up every fruit tree and berry bush pretty much that was in the potential danger zone and actually moved them into the front yard. But because of winter coming in and all that sort of thing, we never thought about showing anybody what we did. So I wanted to take the time today, while it's a very dreary, rainy, icy day, to show you guys around, because this part of the yard is not icy, so I can actually safely walk around on it. So right in line here, there's a nice little row here that has a whole bunch of different gooseberries and currants and other sorts of berries. So we have I think it was every 8 feet or so, I planted a different variety of berry. We also have some bush cherries and different things of that nature that go all the way to the back of the property. Well, the side property line, I should say. And then along the fence line here, we actually have, there is some high bush cranberry, and then we have Arctic kiwi. We have different grapes growing along the fence line. Have some comfrey, some eastern redbud tree, which is a nitrogen fixer that also will produce valuable food for the birds that we have, because they're in the legume family, so they grow little seed pods, and those little seed pods, you can eat them yourself, but we much prefer to have things like that for our birds to eat, because then the birds will come over in this area and they'll forage and they'll basically clean up the mess and get a nice free snack out of it all. So what we're going to do is, in order to keep the birds out of our berries, because when we had turkeys last year, we had a ton of problems with the turkeys actually stealing all of the berries. We have honeyberries, gooseberries, currants, raspberries, blackberries, pretty much every type of berry you can think of. We harvested 0 of them last year because the turkeys ate every single one. So what we're planning on doing this year is, in this row here, I'm going to actually get some trees. My neighbor has pines over there. As you guys can see, he gave me permission to harvest some of the dead pines that are on the ground. So they're basically just nice long poles that I will end up using to create a garden bed that goes on either side of the berry bushes. It's going to be, I would guess, probably 3 foot wide is what we're going to do. And then in that garden bed is actually where we're going to put all of our strawberry plants. And then we'll put like a chicken wire fence on either side of it, just so that way it keeps the ducks and the geese out of there. And then we'll also add in the asparagus that we have as well. So in that way it's a nice, easy to harvest and easy to maintain permaculture sort of bed, and a permanent bed. When we put in the perennial bed in our regular garden, when we did all the herbs and the asparagus and the strawberries, it quickly became really overtaken with the weeds, and it just became very difficult to try to harvest anything. And we realized very quickly that it was too wide, and the thought was right, but the functionality of it was terrible. So it was something that we had actually kind of regretted after the first year of us putting it in. We were like, okay, this does not work. This is not easy to harvest. This is really a big pain in the butt, and that's something that we always want to do, is make it so that way it's very efficient to check on the plants, to harvest them, and then also we need it to be very multifunction. So the reason that this row is so far away from the fence over here, it's about, I would guess, close to 10 feet apart, is because of the fact that we're going to put the bed on there, so that we'll end up eating closer to the fence there. But then we also want to be able to run the rabbit tractors up through here and back down again. So in that way I don't have to mow, and then the rabbits will basically help fertilize everything that's on this side, and then everything that's on this side here. So along the fence we have grapes, we have Arctic kiwis growing, we have some American plum trees, and then I also said about the eastern redbuds, and I think that's all the trees we have planted along the fence line, all the things along the fence. And then along this fence here, which is the property line there, we do have several different hazelnut bushes planted. It'll be nice to try to diminish the amount of wind that comes through here. That field that's across the road there, it produces a ton of wind. So in the wintertime, it makes our house very drafty, very cold, just because there's literally nothing that's blocking any of the wind. So I'm trying to mitigate some of the problems that this homestead has, while also creating more function and purpose. And also productivity. So one of the things that I want to do along the fence here is we're actually going to get a whole bunch of cardboard, and also probably some tarps too, just because this is kind of a big area back in here, and then continuing on about 15-20 feet that way. We're going to kill off all of the grass and all of the poison ivy, because in this area in here it's predominantly just poison ivy that grows there. So we're going to kill off that and then use like a cultivator to bust up the soil and things of that nature, so then we can sprinkle a ton of wildflower seeds in this area. This embankment is actually a lot steeper than it looks, and then it drops off pretty good for the ditch right there. So we've actually almost lost the push mower several times to the ditch, and since there is so many springs in this area, that ditch pretty much always has water in it. So definitely not a thing that you really want to drop over there. So then the other thing too that I'm wanting to do this year is I want to try to expand our pond. So as you guys know, last year I hand dug the one pond up here, right there, and then there was this other small pond here that we had built. I want to actually work on making it so then that way the pond, sorry about that, there was a loud vehicle coming down and I knew that I would not be able to hear myself think. So I want to actually work on expanding this pond pretty significantly. So this pond here, it is in the deepest, I want to say about 18 to 20 inches deep, which is not deep enough for us to be able to have fish in it year round. But so it is deep enough for us to do crawfish in it. So that is something that we want to try our hand at, is to do crawdads this year. Our neighbor has creek access, so we're going to go down there, set some traps and different things, try to catch some of them to then put into the pond, so that way they can help keep the area clean, aerate the soil or the water. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how that works with ponds. I don't know a lot about ponds, except for that the ducks and geese really love to swim in them. So I want to basically dig out the center of the pond here and make it even deeper, which is something I worked on. Every time it got really hot last year, I would just go sit in the pond and literally grab handfuls of muck and throw it over my shoulder. So, and then we also want to expand the pond over this way some, a little bit more, just to try to double the size of it, so that way there's more water catchment that we have here, just in case if there is a really bad drought again this year. It is nice to be able to have plenty of water on hand for the birds, plenty of water for the animals if need be, that we can pull it out of the pond, and then also to be able to use on the garden. So it is a nice feature to have moved the fruit trees and stuff over in here, which that's what these small trees over in here are, is different types of fruit trees. It is nice to have everything really close to the water source, so then that way if we are in a drought, it'd be very easy to just scoop a bucket into the pond and then dump water on there, or siphon, use a hose or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But so I'm pretty jazzed about how everything is shaping out on this property, especially with doing this front yard area, because I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous to be able to have, so many different fruit trees and have them in rows that'll go, over towards the driveway there. Have it be that, the rabbit tractors can come up through here, fertilizing the grass, cutting the grass for me. And I think it's going to work out really well. I think this is kind of one of those designs that we sat on it for long enough with this property that it actually is going to be something that's going to work out quite favorably for us. So, clearly fingers crossed and all of that. And then the other thing that I'm hoping to do is actually on the other side of the fence over there by the mailbox. As you guys can see, it kind of jets out and curves right over in there. I actually want to use that curved area to put a small roadside stand there. So this year I'm not planning on doing any farmers markets, just because it is so physically demanding and labor intensive to try to set up and haul everything and move over there. And it's a lot of work to do the markets and stuff, especially when you don't know how well your sales are going to be. And last year's sales were pretty rough. So I'm hoping that I can do kind of like an egg stand at the end of our road, or at the end of the driveway, and then also maybe sell some different produce that we have excess of, sell some plants, sell some cut flowers, things of that nature, just little stuff, stuff that's not a high value sort of thing. So that way if it does get robbed, which I doubt it, just because there's not really, it's pretty much would be there for our neighbors to be able to harvest what they want and, buy it and whatnot. But I kind of have this thought in my head of making it be like a pay what you can farm stand. That sort of a theme of a phrasing keeps rumbling around in my head. So I think that's probably how it's going to be, is kind of like donation only. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm pretty excited to have some sort of a place that we can put different fruit trees in, berry bushes, and just really go all out without having to worry about, anybody coming in and telling us we have to rip it back out, because that's kind of rough when for the last several years we've had to keep moving around and moving our homestead and changing things around. So it kind of kills the joy of it, honestly. It makes it hard to get excited. So I'm back to a point of being excited for what is to come So yeah, I have plenty of room for, there's going to be a row of fruit trees here, a row of fruit trees here, and then a row of fruit trees right here that are going to take up this entire space here. So that should help in the future mitigate some of the wind, at least to keep it away from the house. And it'll also create a little bit more shade, make it a really nice, cozy, relaxing environment to sit by the ponds, watch the ducks and geese play, and have a little fire. So I think that's going to be nice. I think it should all work out. If not, well, you guys will watch it fail miserably. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.